This is a Baseus retractable USB-C cable. It is a 3 amp or 60 watt cable. I was sent this for free to review. If you wanted to purchase one, it would cost you $16. So in the box, you get a pack of stickers, a little warranty card, and the cable itself in a little black disc. It's labeled 60 watts Baseus, and it has 4 points where it will stop. So this is the full extension, kind of the 3.3 feet right there. And it says if you pull a little more, it'll go back in. So you can pull it out to the first click, which is about a foot. There's the second click, there's the third click, and the fourth click. So you basically can choose how long you want this cable to be, and you don't have to worry about it tangling in your bag. It'll just, go down into this little roll like that. And really the only thing you need to keep in mind about this retraction mechanism is you can click 3 different lengths out, but when you want to retract, you have to go all the way out. So if you're part way in, you can go out and then in, and it will catch right where it is. To get to fully retract, you have to go all the way to the end, and then it retracts. So the action feels very nice and smooth. I haven't had any problems with it sticking or retracting back into the case. Fit and finish looks very nice. The cable has a slight kind of orange-brown tinge on the inside there. Let's go put it to its paces and check that 60 watt rating. I have this cable. Plugging into our meter. It auto-negotiated 20 volts, and the amperage is moving up. Okay, so it has hit 2.96 amps, and if you look at the power there, 2.96 amps times 20 volts is going to be 59.2 watts. So I'm going to give it the 60 watt rating. It's basically a 3 amp cable. Now I am going to retract it as much as I can here. So we have this cable curled up inside of this disc, and that's pretty much as curled up as it can get there. I can maybe give it a couple more inches there. And I'm going to transfer the 59 watts through this guy for 10 minutes, then come out and take a look and see if it's building up heat, because we have all that cable in a loop in there. Okay, so this guy has been coiled up, and the coil is just slightly warm to the touch, but it's not the hottest part of the image here. That would either be where it plugs into the gauge or where it plugs into the sink here. Okay, I have the cable at the full extension, and the cable's at 98 to 101 Fahrenheit, which is warm, but not, super hot. So I think it's perfectly safe to use this at the full 60 watts coiled up in the roll. If you want it to be a little cooler than 100, you can uncoil it. Okay, so I unrolled the cable, left it out in the air for a little bit, and it is not very warm at all. The hot spot here is the power supply. There is obviously power running through the cable. So you can see here this cable is at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and so that's not very hot. I really appreciate the select a size ability here. I can just go to the first click there, and that is just about the perfect size to go between my laptop and my phone. Alright, I'm copying 500 megabytes of files from my phone over to here, and we're going to see what it calculates as the speed per second. It's basically saying 16 to 17 megabytes per second. And so this cable seems to be transferring at the speed I would normally get. So it works well for data, it works well for power, it retracts nicely. Alright, there is one reason and one reason only I'm giving this 4 stars instead of 5. And that has to do with a esoteric specification in the USB-C port standards. I plugged this in, it started transferring power, it showed up on my computer, I can access the files, everything's working the way it's supposed to. But that is only happening because I plugged it in the correct orientation. The USB-C port is supposed to be orientation independent. If I flip this 180 degrees, plug it in, it does not negotiate power, it does not transfer data, and that's partially because this is an older device. I don't have that issue with newer devices, but it is an issue. You should be able to plug this in either direction and it should just work. You shouldn't have to try one way and then flip it over to get it to work. So the cable, there's one data line that's not properly reversed in there for the low-speed data negotiation and low-speed USB-C devices for backwards compatibility. Now there is one gotcha with this cable. If you're using a USB 2.0 older device, it may not be reversible. And what I mean by that is it may work in only one orientation. And that basically means the cable is not fully up to spec, or a defective cable. I suspect what's going on here is they're using these flat cables and there may not be enough connectors to connect everything in properly. And so they have chosen to kind of limit their USB 2.0 compatibility by dropping a couple of those wires. Now, I found that on my older USB 2 device, if I plugged it in one way, it would charge and the data would go through. If I plugged it in the other way, nothing would happen. So one thing to try with this, if it's not working on a device, reverse it. And I know you're not supposed to have to do that with USB-C, but with this cable you do. So this is not fully up to the USB-C cable specifications. It does work for 95% of your devices just out of the box. If you find it not working through a device, try flipping it and see if that fixes it for you. Now it could be that only this particular model is defective. Maybe there's one wire broken in this particular model, but I kind of suspect it might be a wiring issue with every one that they produced.